Hey guys, welcome back to the Advanced Motion Graphics course. My name is Vincent Nguyen, and today in this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at how to create this epic Earth animation here. So let's go and take a look at what we're going to be creating today. So we have this really nice epic transition. We transition from this kind of close-up view of the Earth here. We're going to zoom out. We have a nice solar flare. We have some nice text transitioning into the final text here, the Planet HD text. We have this nice space environment, volumetric area, some nice particles, and overall it's a pretty decent animation. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to set this thing up. So we're going to start from scratch. We're going to create a new composition, and we'll call this main comp. We'll make it 720p around 10 seconds long and hit OK. And let's go ahead and create a new black solid for our background. And this is going to be our filler background. Call it BG, hit OK. And so now I want to go ahead and get started with the background first. So right here I have a space background created in Photoshop. This will be available for download in the project files. And essentially it's just a whole bunch of little dots on a black background, nothing too fancy here. I'm going to make it a 3D layer. I'm also going to push it back way in Z space. I'm going to get the rectangular mask tool here and just draw a really rough mask. I'm going to hit F on the keyboard and feather the mask out a little bit. So we have a feathered background that you can't really see the edges of. And then I'm going to duplicate the background and just kind of move it around so we create this really big, large space here. So Control Command D to duplicate and just kind of just move this thing around to create a really nice, large area. Now you may want to rotate some of these to add some variation because they kind of look a little bit tiled right now. But I'm going to save some time and just kind of rearrange some of this. You won't really tell because our planet will be in the way, so just create a pretty large environment. So that way, if we create a new camera, call this camera, and if we just kind of rotate around, you can see we kind of have this space environment. Now there are many ways to create this space environment using different plugins or scripts, but I think that this should be very sufficient. We're not going to be doing any advanced camera moves, so if you want to do some more advanced camera moves, this may not be the best alternative, but for what we're doing today, it should suffice. Maybe we scale up certain parts of the background. And just so we have a lot of room to work with and add some variation. So here we are, we have a very basic star field background that's going to fill in all the empty gaps within our space background here. So should work for what we need, and if not, we can always expand on this layer or this particular background here. So let me just close all these and let's go ahead and get started building the planet. So again, for this tutorial, I'm going to be using primarily Tropico Particular as well as Element 3D. So let's go ahead and create another new layer. We'll call this one Earth, and we will hit OK, and we'll apply Effect, Video Copilot, Element 3D. I'm going to hop into the scene setup. Now, Video Copilot actually offers a lot of free models on their blog, or we can download them and use them in Element 3D. They actually have a free model pack for Earth here, so they have a free model for Element 3D, and it's simply just an Earth here. So I'll link to that in the lesson notes down below, but download it, it's absolutely free. You can import it and use it within After Effects. So here we have the Earth model, and I'm going to hop into the Material Scene Editor. And just take a look at this. We'll go into the Earth textures, and then for the specular here, I'm going to shut it off. We don't want any specular because it kind of looks a little bit funny when we add in our lights. We'll also go into the diffuse color and just tone down the color to kind of a dark gray, so we get a very dark Earth here. Something like that, and we will leave it at that. We'll hit OK. So now we have our Earth. Now the goal here is to create some kind of parallax. So right now our space background and our Earth are relatively in the same area in Z space, so not that far apart. So if we take our camera and move around, you can kind of see that they kind of move at a very even rate here. So our star field is moving a little bit too much because you know it is pretty far away, so it shouldn't move as much compared to the planet here. So we're gonna scoot it all the way back in Z space. We'll hit S on the keyboard and scale it back up. That way they move a little bit less, and we have different rates of movement when we move through the camera scene. So as you can see, our planet is moving differently compared to the star particles in the background. And this is going to create some natural parallaxing. And for the Earth, we'll also move it back a little bit. We'll go to group 1, go to particle replicator, and just move it back a little bit. And then same thing, we're going to go into the particle look and we'll scale it up. So we'll go into the particle look here, go to particle size and just scale this thing up a little bit. And this is going to be kind of our final position right around here. So now we have our 3D environment. As you can see, different rates of movement because they are definitely pretty far apart in Z space. That's what we want here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our basic camera move. I'm going to create a new null object, and this is going to make it easier to animate our camera and avoid all that weird interpolation stuff here. So I'm going to call this null the control, and we will make it a 3D null object, and then we'll parent our camera to our null object, and we'll use the control to animate the camera here. So I'm going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to zoom in, maybe start on the right side of the planet here. So we're just adjust the position of our null. So we're going to zoom pretty far in, maybe right around here. At the very edge. And let's go ahead and also add some rotation. So if we hold down the shift and click on R, we'll get the rotation as well as the position. We'll rotate it maybe in Z, like that. Maybe adjust the position again. Something like this. Kind of start off frame. We'll hit a keyframe for the position as well as the Z rotation. We'll move around 9 seconds long, and then we will go ahead and reset the position. We'll change this back to 640, 360. We'll change the rotation to back to 0, and then we'll zoom out to around there, and then try to center this up just a little bit better. Right around here. So essentially we are starting pretty zoomed up, and we're going to rotate back to 0 degrees in the Z rotation and zoom out as well. So we get this really nice transition. And I may go ahead and move this position keyframe back to the last 10-second mark. So that way, even though we're done rotating, we're still moving back. Looks pretty good. And then we are going to select all these keyframes here, and then hit F9 to easy ease these keyframes. And we will fine tune this camera movement a little bit later in the second part of the tutorial, but for now I think that's going to suffice for what we need. So now let's go ahead and work on our text. So right now we have no text. For that we're going to be using Element 3D once again. We're going to create a new text layer and type in our text. I'm going to type in the dark planet, and we will shut that off and create another new layer for element. We'll call this 3D text. And again, we'll apply effect, video copilot, element 3D. Hop into the scene setup. Actually, before that, let's go ahead and define our custom text and mask layer. So under path layer 1, we'll select the dark planet text. Hop into the scene setup, hit extrude once again, and again we'll go for our preset bevels. But of course, you can feel free to create your own bevels here. So I'm going to select this detective dark text, and then maybe we can we'll work on the materials a little bit later. We'll hit OK. We have our text. Obviously it's not positioned right. I want our text to be visible right around here. So obviously it's in the right position, but it's not in the right Z position. So we'll go into the particle replicator and we'll just push it back in Z space right around there. So we'll start off with the Earth. We'll zoom out a little bit, and then we're going to see our text. We're going to zoom out, and then bam. So this may require a little bit of tweaking in the position, so maybe adjust some of this a little bit, and then maybe adjust the rotation. We'll also increase the size of this text, so go to the particle look and increase the particle size a little bit. And that is looking a lot better. So now we kind of have the basic camera move set up. We have our general scene in place and other objects are in place and created. So now we can work on kind of fine tuning this thing a little bit. So let's go ahead and work on our camera moves. Right now we have a very generic camera move and we want to kind of create that initial swing once again. So it's kind of start slow, move a little faster, and then gradually slow down to add some more dynamic to the camera move. So we'll go into the control because again, that's where we did our camera controls. We'll hit U on the keyboard to show all the keyframes, and we'll start off with the position keyframes. We will go to the graph editor, and we will try to highlight them and create that little handle. So we're going to grab the handle and just kind of pull these two. So essentially we are starting slow, getting faster and faster at this point here, and then slowing down. And that's what we kind of want. So let's try to make it more dramatic. And just do a quick RAM preview, see how that looks. And that is looking great. Maybe we can adjust some of our text position a little bit. It's a little bit off, so we'll go back to our 3D text and just maybe move it to the left a little bit. You know, we'll just leave it at that. So now we kind of tweak the velocity curves of the camera move. We can also do the same for the Z rotation here. So we'll hop into the Z rotation, make sure that's highlighted, and just kind of pull it a little bit. So we'll make the easing a lot, a lot softer. Eases in a little bit, and that's looking pretty good. And now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and set up the animation, the kind of random rotation of the text here, because right now our text is very static and it's not really doing anything. So let's hop into the Element 3D 3D text layer. We'll go into the particle look under multi-object. We'll enable multi-object, and then we're also going to be scattering things in the Z position here. So if we just crank up the Z scatter, you can see that what it does here, just kind of randomizes and scatters the text in Z position here. So we'll start at the beginning. We should start right around, maybe around here. We'll hit a keyframe for the scatter. Maybe we can hit U on the keyboard, show all the keyframes. We'll move forward right around here. This is where I kind of want things to already be formed a little bit. And then we will set it to 0. So it's going to start off all scrambled, slowly assemble itself, and done. And then we can also add some more random rotation to this thing. So we'll start here, and we'll go up to the rotation. Under rotation random, we'll just increase that maybe by 140 degrees. We will hit a keyframe for that. Hit U to show the keyframes. We'll go to this keyframe point right here where the text is, all transitioned in, and we'll set the rotation to 0. And then we'll easy ease these keyframes, hit F9. So now we have this interesting animation for our text. Maybe we can decrease the rotation to maybe around 90 or so. That's looking a lot nicer. And then if we just enable the motion blur for the 3D text as well as the composition, we get this nice motion blur to add some more dynamic to our text. So this is looking pretty good now. We have our nice star field in the background. We have our planet in the scene. We have our nice camera animation as well as our text animation integrated in. So in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about adding some more environment, adding some lighting, enhancing the planet, adding some lights and to create that nice ellipse, adding the flares in, and just kind of overall enhancing this animation, tweaking it, doing color grading, color correction, stuff like that to really make this a final animation. So that's what we're doing in the next lesson. So until next time, my name is Vincent Nguyen, and I'll see you guys in that next lesson. Bye guys.